Of grey hair, pulled back in a sensible bun that morning, had come loose and hung round her face. For a moment she was transported back to her childhood, when, despite her mother's best efforts to tame them, locks of her then red hair had continually escaped as she galloped through the fields of her parents' Sussex farm. Memories of the terrible moment she'd found out her adored parents weren't all that they seemed flashed by, and her heart began its usual pounding. Feeling her eyes moisten, she shook her head. "No, we'll have none of that, thank you," she told herself. "Good grief, there's no time for baby tears, not when that priest's mutterings have to be endured with passable grace." Smoothing down her long tweed skirt and wishing her supposedly loose-fitting blouse wasn't pinching quite so tightly, Sister Veronica opened her bedroom door. "Now keep that temper of yours under control," she told herself sternly, stepping out into the bare corridor. "Even if he says the most trying things, don't react. No trouble. Not again. It makes writing so very difficult, and that just won't do. Kneel quietly, reflect on your vows, pray for the poor, and think of how best to end the chapter." Adopting her customary rolling gait and heading through the double doors and towards the staircase, Sister Veronica brushed her blouse downwards in case any stray crumbs had stayed behind after her early afternoon snack. Custard creams did aid the writing process, she found. As she lumbered slowly down the stairs, she could hear bedroom doors opening and closing, a variety of footsteps getting louder behind her. The motley crew of 7 other sisters who shared life in the convent were also on their way. Sister Veronica was just reflecting on how, being 2 floors up, she did quite a lot of exercise on a daily basis, what with all the meal times and prayers and masses held on the ground floor, when she saw a bob of bright blonde hair through the window of the fire door on the 1st floor. "Oh, dash!" she murmured as the door swung open, and a young lady fell into step with her. "All right, Sister Veronica," the young lady said, her husky South London accent still unfamiliar within the convent walls. Not grating exactly. Almost exotic. A reminder of other worlds and lives. Her eyes sought out the nuns, the startling keenness and drive in them contrasting with the customary dissociation Sister Veronica saw in many of her sisters' eyes. "Oh, hello, Melissa. What a pleasant surprise," Sister Veronica said, giving the young journalist a once-over. Apart from exchanging pleasantries at mealtimes, she'd so far successfully avoided talking to this attractive impostor who'd burst into their quiet religious life 3 days ago. She had to look upwards to take in the girl's angular, bronzed face with its wide green eyes, which was framed by a bob of wavy, dyed blonde hair smattered with fading pink highlights. Sister Veronica instinctively pulled her spine in, drawing herself up to her maximum possible height of 5 feet 3 inches, then glanced over at Melissa to see if she'd gained anything on her. Typically, it had been Father Mathers who had been interested when Women of the World magazine emailed him, asking if he knew any sisters who would be happy to have a reporter living with them for a week to find out what life was really like as a nun. He'd gone to some lengths to persuade the Mother Superior that it would be a sensible idea to allow the journalist to stay at the convent. Another way of building good community links, he'd said. Maybe he'd seen a photo of Melissa Carlton prior to his enthusiasm, Sister Veronica had speculated, before pushing the thought into the very private, not-for-public consumption section of her brain. Melissa threw Sister Veronica a wide smile, flashing a row of large white teeth, a wide gap between the front 2. "Prayer time is so peaceful, isn't it?" the girl said. Yes, still a girl. Sister Veronica was sure she couldn't be a day over 26. "I don't often get a chance to stop and think in my normal life, but I've thought more over the last few days than I have all year." Yes, quite. Sister Veronica did indeed find prayers and mass very peaceful times. She fervently believed in a higher power greater than all humankind. But Father Mather's subtly prejudiced sermons made her brain overheat, and she didn't think God would mind if she tuned those bits out in favour of ruminating on her next chapter. Also, after having been a sister for over 38 years, which was arguably a long time for anyone to enjoy near constant meditation on Catholic dogma and discipline, Vatican